Excited to announce that today the Drum Major Institute is releasing our first annual survey on the middle class and public policy. And there's no better time to do it with the elections coming up and all of Congress up for re-election, 1/3 of the Senate. There are a few baseline messages that you can take out of this poll, which you can access at our website, drummajorinstitute.org. Number one, the middle class across the board, from lower to upper, is struggling to make it. They are what we call fearful families. The good news, however, is that they are relatively united on the policies that they believe would improve their situation. So the idea that there is a red-blue divide when it comes to public policy is false. They know what they want to see done. However, there is a profound disconnect between middle-class people and Washington. They have literally no idea what Congress is up to. 72% of the middle-class people that we interviewed in this poll could not name a single piece of legislation that Congress passed over the last 2 years that directly benefited them and their families. So let's take a closer look at the findings of the poll. We surveyed our participants on a few progressive policies, and this will give you a sense of their support. Making a national health insurance plan available to all Americans at an affordable cost, so national health insurance. 75% said this was an excellent or good idea, including 57% of Republicans. Requiring employers to provide family and paid medical leave. This is an area where the United States lags. 71% said this was an excellent or good idea, including 63% of Republicans. Allowing individuals who entered the U.S. illegally as children to apply for legal residency if they join the military or go to college and have no criminal record. This is otherwise known as the DREAM Act. 61% supported, including, again, 55% of Republicans. And allowing bankruptcy judges to change mortgage payments to prevent foreclosure. 62% believe this is a good idea, including 55% of Republicans. So the issue here is not whether middle-class Americans support progressive economic policy. The question is whether or not the middle class will insist that Congress advance progressive economic policy. And this is where the warning signs are not so positive. We asked those that we surveyed to tell us what they thought about a series of bills, and then to tell us how they would have liked their member of Congress to vote on those bills. Allowing employees to be represented by a union when a majority of coworkers sign cards requesting representation. This is otherwise known as card check. 68% would have wanted their member of Congress to vote for this bill. 60% had no idea how their member of Congress voted on this bill. Taxing the income made by hedge fund managers at the same rate as others. 68% would have wanted their member of Congress to vote for this bill. 69% had no idea how their representative voted on this bill. Expanding S-chip to cover more children from low and middle income families. 78% would have wanted their representative to vote for this bill. Almost 1 in 2 middle-class people had no idea how their representative voted on this bill. There's no way that we can actually advance progressive policy if people don't know how their own representatives are voting on these bills, all of which came up for votes in one or both houses over the past year. One of the reasons for this disconnect may be that middle-class Americans don't feel that Congress is communicating with them. We asked how often they heard from their member of Congress. 45% said only around election time, but otherwise do not receive updates. 30% said they don't receive information at all, including around election time. And about a quarter said they receive regular newsletters in the mail or email about what their member of Congress is doing. And when you couple that with the emphasis in our news media on the political horse race as opposed to meaningful discussions of policy, you've got an environment in which this disconnect between people and their representatives can fester. That's the main reason that the Drum Major Institute set up themiddleclass.org, where you can log on, learn about the legislation that Congress is voting on, and with just a click, find out how your member of Congress is voting, find out what their middle class record is, find out what their score is in advancing middle class interests. We set that up to bridge this divide.